Welcome to Only Ghosts in the Building. This is your host, Emily Claire, and
Karen Lynn.
We're going to be talking about Rockwood Mansion and Park. We're going to have a little bit of history and a little bit of the family that owned this land before Newcastle County Parks and Recreation acquired this property.
So it's 72 acres of mansion and estate that is now owned by Newcastle County Parks and Recreation. They have had it in their possession since 1972 when the last owner of the estate passed away and they needed to find somebody to own the property. The mansion is about 15,000 square feet, 40 rooms. It was originally about 20 rooms when it was built. But the reason we're talking about this is because it's one of our favorite places to go. It's got walking trails, and they have gardens there, everything. They allow the public to come on to the property for free.
We like to go walking on the property. There is a creek. There is a pond with turtles. There's walking paths that are pretty easy. It's a little bit hilly, but it's an easy walk. They're paved. There is a mansion. There is a carriage house that is rented out to an event company, so you can go have your wedding or your anniversary there on the property. There is a beautiful garden.
And the garden is actually maintained by volunteers.
Oh, that's wonderful. I like that there are so many people in this community that are trying to make this place beautiful for everybody to come to.
That's
I really
right.
do. So there are gazebos. There's a beautiful lawn. There are little hidden places with benches and Adirondack chairs. They have events throughout the whole year. Christmas is big. They do a lighting setup with a bunch of lights outside and also tours inside. And you can drive through and look at all the lights. Or this year when it snowed, everybody went sledding on the big lawn and it was cute. Halloween, they do little walking tours and they decorate with creepy stuff. It's really fun. In the summertime, they have the ice cream festival and also a fairy festival, which are so much fun. I don't remember going to the ice cream festival, but we've gone to the fairy festival a couple of times and it's really fun. Apparently, Mom took me to the ice cream festival when I was a baby. I don't remember it at all.
You were little, and it was very nice. They had band playing and people sitting in the yard and walking around. And they also do a lot of events for children.
Mm-hmm.
They have different events throughout the year for children to do, and they can even participate in the mansion tours. Yeah, you can Google Rockwood Mansion, and it will take you to the website that shows what all the events are and what goes on during the year, and a little bit of history around that. So, the major player is Joseph Shipley Jr. So he was born in 1795, and he was the ninth of 10 children to Joseph Shipley Sr. and his wife Mary. They were actually prominent Quakers in the area. Were also early founders of Wellington, Delaware. Wilmington used to be called Willington, but they changed the name to Wilmington, which is more difficult to say. But the Shipleys were millers. They had mills along the Brandywine. Joseph Sr. and his father Thomas ran the mills. Apparently they were pretty profitable because they sent Joseph off to Westtown School, which is a Quaker school in Westchester, Pennsylvania, where he was educated. And then he went to work for a Philadelphia merchant, James Welsh, and spent time traveling for the firm. 1818, he sailed to Liverpool, England, and it was supposed to be a short trip for Welsh, but then he stayed and worked in the lucrative transatlantic trade, heading a firm called Shipley, Welsh and Company, and then he joined William and James Brown and Company and made even more money. So he profited as a merchant banker. Liverpool apparently was the place to be because it was a big shipping center and they were in the transatlantic business and made quite a lot of money.
And they also put a lot of money back into Liverpool as well. A lot of the things that are there now were funded by this company.
They were very well known. So he accumulated a huge amount of wealth and built an estate near Liverpool, and it was, lived the high life for 30 years. He decided to retire and come back to Wilmington. He came back in 1851, but Joseph never married, didn't have children. He brought his housekeeper and his manservant, I guess you call them manservants, and some of his furniture when he came back. But before he came back...
Question, how do you get a manservant? Because I need me one of those.
Great wealth. When a manservant.
I could really use someone to do this editing for me.
So, before he came back, when he decided to retire, he had his brother-in-law, Edward Bringhurst Sr., supervise the building of Rockwood. He had purchased the property from the Weldon farm estate, sent all the plans back over to Edward Sr. The mansion is a Gothic revival style, and it was designed by the architect who built the mansion in Liverpool.
So you hear that? He was one of the first Goths before the 1980s.
Actually, the mansion does look kind of Goth, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's got all the little frou-frous and stuff with it.
I would live there for sure.
Yeah. So he ended up coming back, and he brought some of his furniture with him, along with his housekeeper, servant, and his horse and his dog. Unfortunately, Joseph had the gout, so he was a little limited on what he could do. But when he came back, he was known for horticultural development of the estate. And so it's really beautifully designed. I think they try to keep it similar to what he had, but of course all the trees have grown up. They've had to make some changes to it, but it's beautiful. It's a nice place to walk around.
It's so peaceful there.
It is, yeah.
That's why I like it. We like the vibe. It's like protected from all the noise and the hubbub.
So he only got to live in that mansion for 16 years, though, before he died, which really isn't a whole lot of time, but I guess back in those days, it's a pretty good time. And because he never married and didn't have heirs, he left the estate in his will to his sisters who were unmarried. Left it so that they could live there until they died. The last sister died. So the sisters were Sarah and Hannah. And Hannah was the last to die. So she died in 1891. The will provided that the estate should be liquidated. And then proceeds split among all his nieces and nephews. Everybody kind of got a piece. His niece, Sarah Fairfax Shipley Bringhurst, is the niece of Joseph and the wife of Edward Sr. Remember, Edward Sr. was the one that actually got the estate built for him for when he came back.
So she had a little bit of a love for it because they helped build it.
They never lived there. They just were involved at that level. So Sarah used her share of the proceeds and actually got it at auction for her son, Edward Jr. Edward Sr. and Sarah never lived in the mansion. Edward Jr. and his wife Anna actually moved in. They had everything, all the furniture and things, it came equipped, essentially. They didn't have to do too much. But
Move in ready.
Especially with the furniture. Now, the furniture is original. There's a lot of original pieces that Joseph brought back from England. It's decorated in the style that he would have had it decorated. When Edward Jr. and his wife moved in, they actually had 4 children. The oldest one was Elizabeth Shipley Bringhurst Galt-Smith. Edward was a pharmacist in Wilmington.
On Market Street.
On Market Street. Wilmington businessman and apparently well-connected, prominent in the Quaker religion, and his wife Anna James Webb Bringhurst was the daughter of a prominent Quaker family. The 4 children, the oldest was Bessie. Bessie was married before they moved in. Next in line is Mary Thomas Bringhurst. Then there's Edith Ferris Bringhurst and Edward Bringhurst III. So Bessie was already married, and she moved into the estate later. Her husband, John Galt-Smith, was a linen merchant, was 20 years older, and had 2 children from a previous marriage. He was a widower. She moved to Ireland. They split their time between New York City and Ireland, but they also lived in a castle.
She was fancy. She was like the original influencer, fashionista, like high life, living, dressed to the nines, had everything beautiful, and was very fashionable.
Yeah, she was styling. So they moved into his family's Kilwalter Castle in Ireland, and they
Kilwalter Castle.
Kilwalter, Kilwaughter.
Yeah,
Like that.
Kilwalter Castle.
Kilwalter Castle.
That was my Irish accent. It was
Wasn't
terrible.
very good.
Thanks. Thanks.
Her husband died in 1899, and she continued to she stayed in Ireland and went back and forth between the U.S. and Ireland. She got stranded in Ireland when World War I broke out, so she was kind of stuck there and unable to get back to the U.S. until 1919. Because of the Irish Civil War during that period of time, she had to vacate the castle, so she had to move from her castle. So she came back with many of her possessions and also moved those into the mansion. That's when they built 20 more rooms to make it 40 rooms, and the square footage went up.
Because she fancy.
She had to have room. Bessie and Mary were the last two living. Mary Thomas Bringhurst was the next in line, and she never married. So she lived in Rockwood until her death. And
Mary never married.
And Bessie didn't have children of her own. She was the stepmom. They didn't come. Edith Ferris Bringhurst Sellers, she married Alexander Sellers.
But they lived off property.
They lived in Radnor, PA.
Radnor.
But she had her wedding at Rockwood. So that would have been nice.
I've seen pictures.
Yeah. So that would have been nice. And there are 4 children. Nancy Bringhurst Sellers Hargraves.
Why did I not get married there? I wish I had known that.
Nancy Bringhurst Sellers Hargraves. William Sellers was the next in line of the Sellers children. Alexander Sellers Jr. and Edith Claypool Sellers Farnham were their 4 children.
Mouthful.
The youngest was Edward III. So Edward was a character.
I love him. Well, he was born on the 4th of July. Born on the 4th of July.
He was, and
he might have been a Yankee Doodle dandy as well. He sounds a little
married, never had children.
Dandy.
So if you think about it, of the 4 children, the only one that got married and had children, well, the 2 got married, Bessie and Edith, but Bessie didn't have children, and then Edith had 4.
Yeah.
Mary, 0.
Yeah.
Edward, 0.
Yeah.
So
it seems like that's a running theme. That's like not having children in the family.
But, I was thinking about that, and if you think about the time, first of all, they were Quakers, so maybe a little prim and proper.
Uh-huh.
Then if you think about like the Civil War, that there weren't a lot of men left after the Civil War, so you kind of got to think about the times and the availability of potential spouses, especially in Wilmington, very small town.
Or they were all gay.
Oh, I am not commenting on that one.
That's fine. We love the gays.
The gays. So anyway, Edward, he was the youngest child, and he officially changed his name to Edward the Fifth.
Because he is fabulous.
He was Edward the Third, and apparently he went to, he liked to travel extensively. And he went to Europe in 1896 and came back officially as Edward the Fifth and not the Third.
Yeah, no, he sounds like somebody I want to hang out with. Plus, I did a little digging. He's a Cancer. I'm a Scorpio. We're both water signs. I feel like we would understand each other and be besties.
Yeah, I think there's a few years between them.
Also, he's very handsome. Tall, handsome man.
And even as a child, he was very handsome, cute.
Yeah.
He looked like a girl, but that was the age.
That was the style back then. The little haircut.
So he actually managed the Rockwood estate and kept his family's financial investments going. And he was a connoisseur of fine furniture and antiques. So he liked to have things nice. I'm sure Bessie
helped him on, yeah.
Yeah. And then he was an accomplished dog breeder. I always thought the dogs did it themselves, but apparently not.
Ew.
They have to be hooked up. And
Ew.
not that way, just Meet each other. Right.
There's no doggy Tinder. Yeah, they were show dogs.
Big part of the estate.
Yeah.
I mean, really huge part of the estate.
That will all come back when we hit the next 2 episodes.
He was also an aviation hobbyist. Do you know what that means? Fly planes for fun? Or did he just like to build them? Or I don't know what aviation hobbyist is. But,
yeah, like...
but I do know that he was a successful amateur photographer.
Yeah.
Did a lot of photographs, and they are in the estate. You can see them when you go through a tour of the mansion.
Again, another hobby that I have that he has, and we would just be best friends. I swear.
Guys are like this. You know?
I know, right? It's so true.
So, but unfortunately, he spent most of his life in ill health, and he died at age 55, which meant that Bessie and Mary could party. And they did.
And they did.
They entertained guests, and they had extensive dinner parties. They had all kinds of fancy things and visitors coming.
They were highfalutin.
They were, and especially Bessie knew the ropes because she, was in a castle in Ireland.
Yeah.
She was really high society,
Yeah.
and really came back and made sure that things were kept in Rockwood in that same condition.
Because you think of Delaware, I don't know, I think of Delaware and I think DuPonts, but they were new money. They weren't old money. These people were the wealthiest.
Original founders of Wilmington.
Yeah.
One of the original founders. I think the DuPont family came from France in 1802 or something like that. That was when they moved. So these people were there a long time.
Well before, and had money well before that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So there's all kinds of other interesting information out there about the family. But unfortunately, after Mary died, she left it to her niece, Nancy Bringhurst Sellers Hargrave. So she was the daughter, of course, of Edith.
And what year was that?
Let's see. I think that was in 1965.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and she was interested. She had always been interested in preservation of the estate, but she didn't have children either. So, it went to when she died in 1972. They went through a long legal battle, apparently, about who should be stuck with or inherit the estate.
Nobody wanted it because it's got to take a lot of money.
Have a lot of money to do that, and I don't know how much was left. I know Joseph was extremely wealthy, but over the years that may have dwindled quite a bit.
Well, this estate literally had all state of the art things in it.
It did. They had running water well before other people had running water. They had a cistern they pump water up into, and then they gravity just they could shower. They had baths, and I think it was Mary that had the shower because she was ill.
Yeah, they had arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and so they built her a specific shower. It's called a needle shower. It is so cool. It shoots water from all directions.
It's around you. It's like walking into
a portal.
Cage.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like a cage, but that shoots water at you.
Yeah, and that was way before showers became
popular.
Popular. And interestingly enough, they had more servants that lived in the house than they had people. It took so many servants to take care of the estate itself. All the grounds, 72 acres. They had to have people that took care of that. They had on-site people that, the gardeners and stuff lived on-site, but there were local people that came in and worked.
They had the guy specifically for the dogs, the training of the dogs.
Yeah.
He was cool.
Yeah, and there are pictures of them, photographs that Edward had taken over the years of many of the servants, the cooks and the maids.
Yeah, we don't get that very often, so thanks Eddie Five for that.
Yeah, they were very kind to their staff, their servants. A couple of them got pensions. Mm-hmm. They were left money in the wills. Joseph left money to his housekeeper and people that worked for him, and then in the will, and then the Bringhurst also. They were very formal, but And they expected their servants to, kind of toe the line and maintain their, wear the vests and the suits and, the uniforms and stuff. But they gave them the uniforms. They gave them places to stay. They lived in the mansion, or they lived in the carriage house, or in the two other houses that are on the site. One was the gardeners and one was the gatehouse. So there were places they provided, and if they lived off-site, they provided money for them to be able to come every day to work at the estate.
Ding, ding, ding on the trolley.
Yeah, really. So they were generous, even though, they had a lot of servants. I think 41 altogether.
And none of them were slaves. They did not.
No, they did not have slaves. That was not part of any of the slave trade whatsoever there. So Newcastle County then inherited, after no one else could. They just sort of they weren't even in the mix of who should get the estate, and the judge said, well, let's give it to Newcastle County Parks and Recreation.
And they were like,
take care of it.
Dang, we've got to make money on this.
I mean, I know it's been,
yeah,
it's got to be expensive to maintain all that.
Yeah.
But they were able to get back a lot of the furniture and
we know all this because they found trunks with all the paperwork and letters, all kinds of stuff.
All the correspondence that ever was ended up in the trunks in the attic. And so when Newcastle County took over, they went through all of that and actually archived it at University of Delaware Archives. So all of this information is available through University of Delaware Archives. They have all the photos, they have correspondence, and all the history.
Yeah, so if you're a history nerd, you can go through it all yourself. It's fun.
Okay.
We're going to interview Rick and Bill, who run the paranormal tour there. And then Miss Riley's going to come too. Okay. And then I think the last episode from this will be us talking about our experiences, and I'm going to be able to post up and talk about all of our personal evidence when we went on the tour and the reveal. That was a lot of fun. I have never seen so much activity before.
That's amazing.
I was astounded.
They had, I think they said, 31 separate entities that they've been able to identify.
Which means we probably have 32, because Riley and I talked to a dude named Roger.
And the fact that Joseph, the original owner, and Mary, the great-niece, actually died in the same bed.
Yeah.
That's something to look forward to, is going through our experiences. And I think it's important to kind of know that they are the family members that show up.
Yeah.
And then probably some of the servants and Roger. We're not sure who Roger is, but apparently he showed up, and we can get into that.
And Eddie 5. I'm so excited. I love him.
Eddie was, he's a character.
He is. At first we were like, oh, he seems a little narcissistic, but then I'm like, no, he just seems fantastic and fabulous.
We don't know about him personally, but he just seems that way. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Shout out.
Stay tuned about the ghost dogs.
Oh, the ghost doggies. Oh, I'm so excited to hear what Rick has to say about the growl that I caught.
That's right.
I know. I'm so excited. Yeah. So we're going to have a lot of fun. And please stay tuned. And we love you for being here at the beginning. And if you're listening to it years and years later, I hope we got better. I hope it sounds better, because right now it's just the two of us.
Really rough now. But
we've had to record a few times. So we shall see you soon.
Bye.
Well, hello, you beautiful people. I'm going to pop here at the end, and I want to thank you for listening and being a part of this exciting project. I am so happy doing this. This is such a good blessing for me. Find things that are so exciting to me and share it with others. I just love this so much. We talked a little bit about Rick and Bill, who are the people that put on the paranormal tours. You can find Rick on Instagram at Paranormal Rockwood Mansion. I will put a little link in the description of this episode, and we will get to know Rick and Bill, who run those tours. We will get to know the two of them in the next episode when we do the interview with the two of them, and it will be part 2 of the Rockwood deep dive. So Rick runs Below the Stairs and in the Attics, the Servants Tour, which I can personally say was awesome. The next time that runs is Sunday, February 18th. So go on the website to get your tickets. Now into the good stuff. Paranormal Rockwood. So exciting. Saturday, February 17th is Rockwood Paranormal Experience. Then the next one is Saturday, March 16th. Rockwood Museum is at 610 Shipley Road, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. So type that in the Waze and go down. Well, thanks for listening. And if you have any ghost stories you want to write to us, please do so at onlyghostsinthebuilding@gmail.com or DM us at onlyghostinthebuilding on Instagram or Facebook. We would love to hear from you.